up with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
Oh my god. A football match has been won, ladies and gentlemen. Chelsea 4 4 Southampton 0. Nil point. A clean sheet. Would you, Adam and Eve, back into the top 4 at time of recording, and importantly adding to goal difference, which could be a really important factor in finishing in the top 5. Guys, listen, I'm gonna say it now. Disclaimer, this was 20th place, Southampton at home. I don't think there were like traffic cones in this game. They had a couple of flurries forward. We'll talk about the opening 20 odd minutes in the game. And, you know, they knocked it out in phases. It was a good training exercise for Chelsea, but they didn't let their heads drop. They didn't capitulate. They weren't all at sea. It wasn't a disaster class from Southampton. So I'm going to say this disclaimer now, yeah, that yes, 20th place, and we were at home, and they're going to get relegated, and they're going to be very bad. But, you know, it was still a team that played a back 5, that man-marked our false 9, that, you know, never gave up, their heads didn't drop, because they probably know it's just an exercise of playing for next season. But I want to get that disclaimer in now early. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the game. We'll talk about the protest a little bit as well. And we'll talk about the future. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for joining me here on the channel, Football Therapy. Please do consider dropping a like on the video, because it helps us guys out and it takes you a millisecond of your life. And if you are, yes, you listening to this right now, if you are a returning visitor to my channel and you've not subscribed, why not just do me the favor and subscribe? Because why not? All right, mate. So yes, let's start off with the protests as they happened before the game at 6 p.m, which was covered on TNT Sports as well. Joe Cole out there in doing interviews as well. Firstly, like, look, I try to stay off X. I have a burner account, but I've seen like conflicting reports of people saying, no matter what you think, right, whether people are confused with what they're protesting, people don't think you should protest, whatever. It's a peaceful protest, and these are paying football fans that are expressing how they feel, and they absolutely have the right to do that. And it's been difficult. So like, I'm just trying to sort of take a compassionate perspective here. I have been very unhappy with how things are. And you know, like, I had a relative indifference to the protest, I've got to be honest, but I'm still pleased they did it, and I'm pleased they got coverage as well. So, you know, well done to the Chelsea fans going to, like, assert themselves, essentially. Do you know what I mean? So, yes, it was covered. The fact how TNT Sports covered it will be seen by the you know, Chelsea hierarchy. I wanted to start with that. All right, so we're going to talk about the game. Of course, going into this, it was just massive, bro. After the Villa, I mean, the Villa again, it wasn't awful. The performance against Villa, and the formation change was interesting, and Pedro Neto as a false 9, which of course he played again today. We'll speak about that. Worked well, but we all feared for how it would go. And actually, to be honest, apart from maybe Fulham getting an away win at Wolves, I was hoping they would draw. Aston Villa lost 4-1. Yeah, the same Villa that slapped us up. But we're not talking about that. Villa dropped points. And Bournemouth, I know Brighton have crept up now, but if you had to, ideally it would have been a draw between Brighton and Bournemouth, but if you had to pick a team to win, you'd pick Brighton. So the results again went our way, and we ultimately capitalized on it, which is a freaking rarity, bro. And you got to say that's a good thing. And we're going to look at the SofaScore page now for stats, timeline data, and stuff like that. But, you know, just headlines off the bat. It was a near perfect day. Maybe the Cole Palmer disaster class. And I captained him on FPL. I just thought this was the game we'll get it back. And they were so desperate to get Palmer to score. They were playing him, Maresca put him up front at the end. They were, Enzo Fernandez had better passes in certain situations, like to Tyreek George, but he was just trying to give it to Palmer. They're so desperate to get him scoring again. Of course, if a penalty was won, he would have taken it and probably converted it. But apart from that, it was pretty much a perfect day. Good. And again, disclaimer about Southampton, but again, they were still a football team that heads didn't drop. And we played really well against them. But look, you had really impressive performances from all kinds of players, which we'll go through. We had, Nkunku getting a goal and assist. We had Pedro Neto getting a goal and assist. Goals from defenders, Cucurella and Colwill. You love to see it. We saw Tyreek George getting his first Chelsea first-team goal involvement with an assist. Dewsbury Hall came on and ran around. We saw a Premier League debut from new signing Matis Amugu. We saw Shimweka come on as well, very late on. Nearly scored from his first touch from a Cole Palmer corner. That would have been the ultimate, perfect day, because Cole Palmer would have got a goal involvement from the corner, and Shim would have got a debut Chelsea goal at 17 with his first touch with a header. But then, of course, Georgia Chiampon came on as well, and it's superb. So let's take a look, shall we? Alright, as you can see, attacking Chelsea momentum in green here is heavily dominant, as you would expect. It was a very defensive formation from Juric's Southampton. Bella Kotchap was man marking our false nine, which was Pedro Neto on the day. And yeah, it wasn't the best performance, but like I said, their heads didn't drop. They kept their shape. They did have a few moments. And it's worth saying, right up into our opening goal, which of course was Christopher Nkunku in the 24th minute. So the opening 20 minutes, it wasn't fun. I was nervous, bro. Jorgensen kept trying to play out of the back. The Chelsea fans actually started booing Jorgensen. And then Maresca looks over to him and says, thumbs up, you're doing the right thing. But obviously there was the high octane emotional energy from the protest. Southampton know they're going down, but they've turned up to Stamford Bridge like these guys are in a terrible run of form. They've just been protesting outside their ground. We've got absolutely nothing to lose here. While it's 0-0, let's just have a crack. And there was a bit of that. They went forward a few times. They applied pressure to our goalkeeper, Jorgensen. And he sort of panicked a little bit. And until the opening goal, it wasn't like plain sailing. And I was fearful. But, I did believe even if they scored, we could come back and win. But it would be not that positive, but fortunately we weathered that storm. Let's talk about how we lined up. So Pedro Neto played as a false nine, but if we look at his heat map here, he drifted. He played everywhere but the false nine pocket here. He drifted around all over the gaff, but he was a false nine. Sancho on the right, he obviously prefers left, but Nkunku played as a left winger, but played really well. Again, disclaimer, yada yada yada. But he looked like he cared. And to be honest, that opening 45 minutes against Villa, he kind of looked like he cared as well. But he did care. The way he celebrated the goals, we saw the balloon again. And yeah, that is a left winger, man. That's not necessarily like a Noni Madueke literally has chalk on his boots like there. And obviously he's coming inside a bit, but that's more out wide than Nkunku wants to be. But again, opposition, that's still a goal and assist. And to be fair to him, his goal was brave. And that's what I want to see. He stuck his head between Smallbone and the goalpost, and there could have been pain there. But he went in, bro. And that shows he cares. He celebrated really loads with that goal, Pedro Neto's goal. He got the balloon out celebration. The vibes were... It is Dr. Southampton when you need them most, right? I'm just hitting my stream deck there. So he sort of played... and let's see if Sancho's heat map actually, because I feel it. Yeah, so Sancho is a proper winger, proper touchline, like I said, chalk on his boots, and Nkunku coming inside a little bit more, but still playing as that left-sided player. And then I guess it was just a double pivot, or Caicedo central all over the gaff. Enzo Fernandez playing in that sort of left pocket, and we saw Cucurella kind of inverting into the number 10, and then you can't see. So Enzo Fernandez left number 8 pocket, Cucurella left back but inside inverting sometimes, and then Gusto sort of playing as a right centre back, advancing right back. So there's your positions for you. We will talk a little bit more about player performances at the end. But let's have a look at the stats. I have a feeling it's going to be dominant. Let's do it in halves, because we scored 3 goals in the first half. The first half, wow, okay. So 3 goals out of 1.28 expected goals. That's what I like to see. Elite finishing, a rarity. Opposition. But 4 big chances, though. 3 goals. How do you get 4 big chances with only 1.2 XG? Not sure about that maths, but we move. 7 shots. Probably should have had more than 7 shots in that game, but clinical finishing. And the second half, yeah, see, they did generate something. So 0.62 XG. I know you might laugh, but like, that isn't nothing for Southampton. Do you know what I mean? And they created 2 big chances. This is what I mean. It's obviously us not being perfect, but I don't want to denigrate this performance entirely because of the status of the opposition. And yes, they didn't offer much, and the headlines will be like, well, you know, they were playing Southampton. But the truth is, it was a game of football that we played well in. And, you know, they had little moments of good positioning and application. And like I said, the opening 20 minutes. So I do want to praise Chelsea, you know, appropriately. And Nkunku scores the first goal. It's a flick on. I think it's from a corner. Tosin Adarabioyo. It's actually pronounced Adarabioyo. Bioyo. And then Nkunku assists Neto. Great goal. Lashes it in, left foot. Really, really good finish. And then Neto himself gets an assist from a set piece. Levi Colwill, who turns 22 tomorrow. Little early birthday gift for him there. 3-0 up at halftime. Lovely stuff. A bit of a slow start to the second half. We see their better players come on, like Harwood Bellis, Dibbling. Archer comes on a little bit later. And of course... Yep, great. And of course, we start making changes. Sancho comes off for Dewsbury Hall. Neto comes off for George. So George essentially plays as a winger. Dewsbury Hall sort of plays... Where does Dewsbury Hall play? Let's have a look at his heat map quickly. Sort of right pocket, I guess. Right winger, kind of. And then we see Tyreek George getting a good assist for Cucurella. Now, George lashed a shot before on goal, and he probably should have played in a very frustrated Cole Palmer. But, look, mate, he wants that goal. But he got a really good assist. He brings out what Gusto does good work on the flank. He brings out wide. He does good winger play, a lovely weighted cutback. And then Cucurella is behind Nkunku. He shouts, leave it, or he tells him to leave it, and Nkunku leaves it. A really great finish from Cucurella. Good goal. Does his little penguin celebration. A good goal. Best goal scoring season in his career, apparently, this season. And it's a great moment for Tyreek George because it's a lovely assist in the Premier League. I do think, I've been saying it on my social media, at Football Yannick, if you want to follow me on Instagram. I've been saying that when he gets that goal, Tyreek George, because he's such a good player, and he just gets that sort of, you know, breaks his duck, just gets it done, he will, like, decision making will be a little bit more intelligent because he's such a good player and he's so capable of playing in the Premier League. You know, these little moments where he won't just be so desperate to get that goal, he'll sort of relax into the role a little bit more. But I hope that assist as well does him justice. So 4-0, and that's all the goals. Of course, we see Champon come on, which is great because, you know, for some reason, Maresca went from saying he was the best player on the pitch, looking like a starting centre-back, to just disappearing into thin air. Maybe it's him in training, I don't know. But it's nice to see him come on for, you know, meaningful minutes for a teenager. A Premier League debut for Amugu and a Premier League debut for Shimoeka. Of course, nearly scoring on his first touch with a Cole Palmer header. 4-0 clean sheet. And from like the opening 20 minutes when Jorgensen was absolutely, you know, crapping his pants, he was doing like all kinds of, you know, Cruyff turns and stuff towards the end, when it's easy to do when you're like 4-0 up, right? But, and the vibes were good. Chelsea fans were happy. Let's talk about player performances though. Jorgensen in goal, I mean, he wasn't up against much, and he did look shaky. He's a young goalkeeper. I don't think he's a particularly very good goalkeeper. He made a couple of saves. Let's have a look at stats here. 4 out of 9 long balls isn't awful for a goalkeeper. Aerial duels 1, whatever. I mean, he's fine. He's serviceable. It's kind of, you kind of like don't really, you know, you can't really learn much here. I think Gusto was fine. I think Tosin was good. He got an assist. Colwell got goals. Bernardo Cueva finally coming out of the woodwork. Our set piece coach getting goals. And although, you know, they've got high ratings, the only one I really want to pick out and say, look, this guy's great, is Cucurella. And Cucurella sort of playing, inverting into the number 10. He looks so, for a guy who we bought, look at that ground duels. This is what we've been missing. 8 out of 9 ground duels. And look, you could say what you want about Southampton not being a good football team. They still might get stuck in. Little Cucurella winning 8 out of 9 ground duels and scoring a great goal. He's so comfortable operating in not just central defensive midfield as a defender, but as like a number 10. Like, I mean, if this works out long term, innovation from Maresca. Caicedo was fine. I know he got a booking fine. Enzo Fernandez, I think he's been magnificent. I think he's been so good this season. He obviously went on that incredible run before Christmas for club and country, scoring, assisting for, Argentina and Chelsea. He sort of went off the boil when we all did, but he is really good. He's a leader, he's a captain, he gets stuck in, can score a goal, he can read the room. Like, he was really trying to get Cole Palmer a goal, which is kind of a captain-y thing to do. I mean, they are, they're £100 million men, Caicedo and Enzo, but they are both really freaking good, respectively, and they can get better. And, I'm not judging them off this win of Southampton. I'm talking about their entire sample size, club and country, both of them, Ecuador and Argentina. The future is bright with those guys, and I know it's easy to forget when we were in an absolute dismal run of form, but that's the truth. I think Sancho had a really good first half, of course, playing on his less preferred side again, and good, and more importantly, really great attitude, Sancho. Never does the Noni Madueke stuff. I saw him make a few runs that weren't found. I saw a few people not meet the ball. Good balls that he put in. A perfect cross into the box, so Palmer or someone else should have scored. To be honest, if we had a striker, they would have tapped it in. But he never, ever throws his arms up. He just goes, all right, we move. I think he's been so Manchester United-ified. He's like, I'm just going to get my head down here. I'm not going to, moan. I'm just going to be... And I think his attitude's been exemplary. I genuinely do. All things considered. Right, we'll end with Palmer. So let's talk about Nkunku. Goal and an assist on the night. His first half against Villa, like I said, was serviceable, but he's still not great in that position. He made 2 key passes, getting a goal and an assist. Let's have a look at anything else. 50% of his ground duels. He won the header in the box. That's the thing about Nkunku. He's a bit like Diogo Jota of Liverpool he's quite small and diminutive, but he's quite good in the air as well, like winning and scoring headers. So let's, watch this space. Clearly Maresca thinks he's an important player and should be in the team, and he's just trying to find a way to get him in the team. And maybe, look, you've done it here against Southampton. Let's see you can do it elsewhere. I mean, we've got to talk about Pedro Neto. He is a success story of the last 2 games, which of course includes a loss. He got a goal and an assist off 0.19 expected assist. His expected goal was 0.07. Lash that home, mate. Very, very good performance from Pedro Neto. He was being man-marked, of course, by Bella Kotchap early doors. And even Villa, they just don't know how to pick him up because he's naturally wants to go to his native wide areas, as you can see here. The false 9, people think like is going to be here, Roberto Firmino style. But he wants to go here and here. He is a starting false 9, and the opposition don't know how to pick him up. It's working. Is he going to be Chelsea's starting striker next season? Well, if he scores 10 more league goals, let's see. But it seems like a solution. And of course, Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer, who... Let's have a look here. Cole Palmer was used to score off like 0.3 expected goals. He had over an expected goal here. Didn't get a goal, didn't get an assist. But he's not... It's these high-profile moments, right, where he's taking shots, because he took 3 shots on target, 4 shots, 7 shots without a goal. He didn't make a single key pass, isn't much for him, to be honest. But, 1 out of 1 crosses completed, the majority of his long balls completed, the majority of his dribbles completed. I know he only won 3 ground duels, but the last game against Villa, when he was playing as a winger, he won loads of ground duels. So he was getting stuck in. He's not having a disaster class, but you can see something is off with him. Like, he's a little bit like... He's looking like something that I didn't think was in him, that it's getting to him. I thought he wasn't that kind of player that this could happen to him. I thought he'd go off the ball for a little bit, like he has been, but this game is like, he's inside his own head and lashing at things. And I mean, he's human, but I didn't think he was the kind of player who did that. I'm not worried, of course, he'll score a goal and then he'll go in form again, but Cole Palmer being off colour in a 4-0 home win is totally fine. Woo! Yeah, man, so I'm feeling good. Let me know what you are thinking. As always, I'll thank you for your support here on the channel. Liking, you're welcome to subscribe if you're yet to do so. I'd encourage you to do so. Drop your comments. Hopefully we can take this form into smashing up Copenhagen and smashing up Leicester and having a lovely time. And then we're back, baby! Maybe? Alright, see you soon. Peace.